guys! So I'm here today in my bedroom in front of my newly organized dresser top with my jewelry and my makeup brushes and my lipsticks and my newly finished nail polish rack. And the reason I'm here doing my video from here today is because this nail polish rack is what I'm going to be showing you guys how to do today. Before we get to making the nail polish rack, I just wanted to mention that in the video you'll notice that I'm going to be adjusting some of the instructions that I did just because there's a few things that I would do differently just to make this nail polish shelf that much better and to hold a few more bottles of nail polish. So please pay attention to those things where I'm making adjustments so that you guys can have the best possible nail polish rack that you can. So it's going to be more awesome than mine. So pay attention to those little adjustments. So now that I've said all of that, I'm ready to get started and show you guys how I make this awesome nail polish rack. Let's go.
Alright, so to get started, first you're going to need 2 pieces of this foam board. I got this package of 2 at Walmart. If you're not sure where to find this in Walmart, you're going to be able to find it where they keep the Bristol board, anything for school projects, and that kind of supplies. So put 1 piece of your foam board aside because we're just going to need 1 for now. If we take a look at our plans here, I've laid out all of the pieces that we're going to need to cut, and I'm going to be referring back to these plans several times throughout the videos, so don't worry if you don't catch this right now. The first piece we're going to start with is our back panel, so we're going to need to cut 1 of those. And that piece is going to measure 20 inches by 26 3/4 or 26.75 inches. So since our board is already 20 inches wide, we don't need to cut that, we just need to cut a little bit off the length. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out 26.75 inches. I'm going to draw a nice straight line across, and then I'm going to cut my board. Once you've got your back panel all cut out, we're going to move on to cutting out our right and left side pieces. These pieces are both going to measure 2 inches by 26 3/4 or 26.75 inches. And we're going to need to cut out 2 of these pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and take my second piece of foam board and I'm going to measure and cut out these 2 pieces. So now I've got my 2 side pieces cut out. I'm just going to go ahead and label those so that I don't get them mixed up when it's time to assemble. Next, we're going to move on to our top and bottom pieces. These pieces are going to measure 20.5 or 20.5 inches by 2 inches. And again, I'm going to need to cut out 2 of these pieces. So once again, I'm going to measure and cut these 2 pieces. Now I've got my back panel, side pieces, and top and bottom pieces. I'm going to move on to cutting my shelves. The shelf pieces are each going to measure 1.75 or 1 3/4 inches by 20 inches, and we're going to need to cut 5 of those. So again, measure and cut. Got all my shelf pieces cut out, and I'm just going to make sure once again to label them. Now let's refer back to our plans again, and all we have left to cut is our shelf lips. So these pieces are going to measure 3/4 of an inch or 0.75 inches by 20 inches, and we're going to need to cut 6 of these pieces. So now you should have all your pieces cut out. 1 back panel, 2 sides, 1 top and 1 bottom, 5 shelves, and 6 shelf lips. If you have all those, then we're ready to start assembling. So the first thing you want to do in the assembly process is take your back panel, and we're going to start measuring up from the bottom, making little tick marks. So our first measurement from the bottom is going to be up 4.25 or 4 1/4 inches, and you're just going to make a little mark, and then you're going to make another mark 0.25 or 1/4 of an inch from there, and then you're just going to repeat with 4.25 and a quarter, 4.25 and a quarter. And you're going to make these marks along this side and the other side of your board, and then you're just going to draw lines across connecting your tick marks, and these lines are going to serve as a guide where your shelves should sit. And they're going to help us make sure everything lines up nice and neat and straight. Now I just wanted to note that this is one of those things I mentioned in the intro of my video that I changed from what you're seeing me do in the video. On my nail polish rack, I measured 4.75 or 4 3/4 inches between each shelf, and I found that that was too much space and I have too much of a gap. So I want your shelves to look much more awesome, so I've adjusted that for you guys, so make sure that it's 4.25 inches. So once you've got all those lines drawn, you're just going to need your duct tape and hot glue gun. And I'm using white duct tape just because I want everything to match. And yes, I know I'm spray painting it, but I think that's just my obsessive mind working, and I needed it to be white. So you can use whatever color you want. I just feel like my spray paint is going to cover evenly if everything underneath is the same color. So you're just going to take one of your shelf pieces, you're going to line it up along that first line that we drew, starting in the center, and you're going to run a short strip of glue along that edge. Now the reason why we are placing our shelf piece in place before we glue is that if we glue on the foam, the hot glue is just going to melt the foam, and that's not what we want. We need these boards to stay nice and sturdy. So once that part has cooled, you can then move on to each side, positioning the base along the line and adding glue to each of those sides, and then run more strips of glue in between so that the whole edge of your shelf has a nice neat bead of glue. You want to make sure you don't have too much excess glue because we do want things to look nice and neat and not clumpy. Once the hot glue is cool, you're just going to start taping your shelf to your back panel along that back edge in small sections. And you're going to tape all the way across using about 3 strips of tape. It's easier to use the smaller strips of tape than trying to tape all the way across at this point. Once you've got that entire bottom edge taped, you're going to go ahead and tape along that back edge on the top portion of your shelf. And you're going to follow those same steps for your remaining shelves. Now that we've got all of our shelves attached, we can add the sides. We're going to measure and draw on the same lines that we did to the back panel. This is going to help us correctly line up our shelves along those side panels so that we can fix them in place as level as possible. Once you've got your lines drawn on both of your sides, you're going to flip your rack over and you're going to position your side in place, and then you're going to again tape with your duct tape. Now that you've got your side taped on there, you're going to flip your rack back over and you're going to line up the bottom of each shelf with each one of your lines that you drew on your side panel, and you're going to hot glue it in place, again gluing on the underside of your shelves. This is very important that all of your glue is on the underside of your shelves. And then you're just going to hold your shelf in place until it cools. Then you can continue doing the same steps to each one of your shelves, and then repeat the entire thing again on the other side of your shelf. The next pieces that we're going to add is our bottom and our top. So we're just going to turn over our shelf, line up our bottom piece, and tape along the back edge, and then on the outside of the corners. And we're going to attach the top piece in the same way. So at this point, now that we've got almost everything assembled, we want to start tidying everything up and making it look a little bit neater. So we're just going to take long strips, the entire width of our rack, and we're going to tape over the smaller sections of tape that we put along the back side of our shelves where we joined our shelves to our back panel. So then you won't be able to easily see those smaller pieces of tape. It'll be just one long strip and it'll be much nicer and neater, and that's what we're really going for. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that along that back edge of the bottom and tops of our shelves. So the last thing we have to do in the assembly of our nail polish rack is apply these lips to each one of our shelves. These will just prevent our nail polishes from falling off the shelves. So what you're going to need to do to each one of the shelf lip pieces is measure and cut yourself a piece of duct tape that extends 1 inch longer on either end of your shelf lip. Then you're going to place that piece of tape on your surface, sticky side up, and you're going to position your shelf lip so it's directly centered on your piece of tape. Then you're going to take and position each one in place on your rack above each shelf and make sure everything is nice and lined up. Then holding that overlap flap of tape on either side tight, you're going to slice your tape on the inside of your shelf side, just down to the shelf, not all the way through, and then you're going to fold over that flap that was created by slicing your tape over your shelf lip, and you're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Fold that flap of tape under your shelf, and then pull those side flaps of tape nice and tight and wrap them around the sides of your shelves. So you're going to repeat this for each one of your shelf lips. So at this point you've got your rack assembled, but you just want to make sure that you're wrapping any exposed foam with your duct tape. From here we just need to tidy up the sides before we paint it. So what I'm going to do is just cut myself strips of tape that are just slightly longer than each one of my sides, and I'm going to tape those sides and wrap the tape around the corners. When I get to my last side, I'm just going to trim that tape to be exactly the width of that side so that it finishes directly at the corner. And all we have left to do is spray paint it. So I'm going to go do that, and I'm doing mine in black. But you can choose whatever color you like. Head over to my blog for recommendations on what type of spray paint to use. I'll have that link in the description bar.
Alright everyone, so that's it on how to make your own nail polish rack. It's pretty simple. It takes a little bit of time, but I mean, you're only spending what? Let's see, 6, 5, that's 11, and then another 5, so $16. So you're spending less than $20 to make your own nail polish rack. I know something like this would cost you a lot more to buy, so it's really a great deal, and it's fun to make. So if you guys like this video, make sure that you click the thumbs up, make sure that you subscribe to my channel to keep up with all of my other videos, and come follow me on social media. I've got all those links in the description bar below the video, so you can easily click and come find me and come chat with me and ask questions, anything, and even just say hi. I'd love that. As usual, I hope you all have an awesome day. I'm sending you lots of love, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye.